Hello and welcome to the State Draft. I am Prabhakar Tamil Nadu special correspondent from ThePrint's Chennai bureau. In today's episode, I am going to talk about how MK Stalin has performed in the first 3 years of his maiden stint as Tamil Nadu Chief Minister. After a gap of 10 years, the Dravida Munnetra Kalagam came to power in 2021. All eyes were on MK Stalin, son of M. Karunanidhi, on his first maiden stint as Tamil Nadu Chief Minister. The first thing that M. Stalin did was to pass a decision on free bus travel for women in the state. On May 7th, having completed 3 years as Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, his government was mostly dominated with the popular measures such as free bus travel for women, 1,000 rupees scheme for financial aid for women in the state, 1,000 rupees financial aid for college-going children in the state, and much more. However, he has also had to field allegations of corruption against his government and a muted pushback from his party seniors for giving more powers in the hands of state bureaucrats instead of the political class in this state. Political analyst like Satyamurthy says that though the MK Stalin government has fulfilled most of their promises, there are reservations among certain sections of people in this society. He also says that there are corruptions at the multiple levels in the government which may not cost the party now, or that means in the parliamentary elections, but it will cost them in the 2026 assembly elections. The opposition parties, say AIDMK and BJP, have also been leveling corruption charges against DMK. In fact, BJP's state president Annamalai has also raised a series of DMK files alleging corruptions against the Dravida Munnetra Kalagam. However, the party has refuted the claims every now and then when Annamalai has released those files. But then, officially, in the last 3 years, there have been no corruptions reported in the state government. However, Satyamurthy says that doesn't mean that corruption hasn't happened at all. He says that the corruption has been there in the multiple levels, in the micro corruptions have been there at the multiple levels of the government, which may not be reported, but that doesn't mean that it hasn't happened at all. Political analysts in the state also points that he has not been able to handle the deadweight senior ministers who have been pulling his government by their controversial acts and acts of non-cooperative stances. Some within his government also draws comparison with him with the former Chief Minister AIDMK Jayalalitha instead of his father M. Karunanidhi. So in the first 3 years, what has MK Stalin done? So the first scheme that was introduced or passed by the DMK government or led by MK Stalin was that free bus travel for women in the state. So the senior IAS officers to whom the print spoke to shared that he has been keen on this scheme ever since he took charge as Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu. That is why on the first anniversary of the government on May 7, 2022, MK Stalin himself took a bus on Radhakrishnan Salai and inspected how the scheme had an impact on the women in the state. It is not just CM went for a photo op and spoke to a woman. The State Planning Commission, which studied the impact of this scheme that had on the women and came out with a report. The report said that the working women in the state were able to save rupees 750 to 1,000 rupees per month because of the free bus travel for women scheme. This is not stopped there. From there, on the first anniversary, the MK Stalin also introduced another scheme for school students, free breakfast meals scheme for government school students that is now been extended to the government schools as well. The State Planning Commission again did a study on the impact of this scheme that had on the students. It was found that before implementation of this scheme, the attendance percentage of the students in the government schools were around 60% to 70%. But after implementation of this scheme, the attendance percentage shot up to 90 to 95%. The other two schemes that Stalin was keen on implementing was the ThePrint scheme, giving a financial aid of rupees 1,000 for every girl children who is pursuing higher education and rupees 1,000 for eligible women in the state. This is also a monthly financial aid scheme. These schemes, while the monthly financial aid scheme for eligible women in the state was implemented just last year, but then the ThePrint scheme was implemented a couple of years ago. The State Planning Commission has also done a study on this scheme, and it was found that the enrollment ratio or the enrollment percentage of women's children in the colleges has increased after implementation of this scheme. In comparison to the previous academic year, in 2022-2023, the percentage of women enrollment in the higher studies were increased by 29%. Though this is the maiden stint of MK Stalin, the state bureaucrats to whom the prince spoke to shared that he doesn't look like a first-time chief minister. They say that he has like experience in a wide range of subjects and he is more keen on the people welfare measures. And they also share that there has been zero interference from any of the senior ministers in the state, and Stalin has given a free hand to the bureaucrats to implement the schemes whatever they wish to in the lines of the government's policy. So one of the senior bureaucrats also shared that he doesn't hold any grudges unlike the former chief minister, say J. Jayalalitha. He says that even though if a bureaucrat, say an IAS officer was appointed during an AIADMK government, if Stalin finds potential in that person or finds potential in a particular secretary or an IAS officer, he doesn't mind retaining them in the same department is what the IAS officers to whom the prince spoke to shared us. Similarly, they also find similarities with this father M. Karunanidhi. They say like M. Karunanidhi, fondly called as Kalaignar, has been the most diplomatic leader they have seen in the state until now. After M. Karunanidhi, they see MK Stalin as the most diplomatic leader because he, like the bureaucrats say that he is very wise in choosing his battles. Say for examples, during the Kaveri River water row issue, instead of picking up a fight with the neighboring state, he chose to go for a legal battle. Similarly, when there was a financial crisis, instead of just releasing a statement, he went to Supreme Court seeking for funds from this union government. So these are some examples that the state bureaucrats shared with the print. The bureaucrats also told us that the Chief Minister MK Stalin has been more accessible than any of the Chief Ministers they have had so far. However, this model of governance or this model of this kind of approach towards the bureaucracy is hurting the party senior ministers. So senior ministers to whom the prince spoke to shared that this is not how M. Karunanidhi used to deal with the ministers and with the bureaucrats. The ministers shared the print that M. Karunanidhi used to be close with the ministers than with the bureaucrats. They say like most of the powers were with the ministers and the bureaucrats hadn't had much powers when M. Karunanidhi was Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu. The senior minister says that they are finding it difficult to cope up in the ground since the bureaucrats have higher powers, and some of them even allege that the bureaucrats don't pay heed to the senior ministers in the state. Political commentator N. Satyanarayanan said this kind of giving more powers to the bureaucracy will only lead to a corruption in the grassroots level which may not be seen. So there is also a problem, like the political analysts see a problem in giving more powers to the bureaucrats as well. Political analyst A. Ramasamy shared that if M. Karunanidhi had been Chief Minister of the state, he would have left out few of the senior ministers who had been causing disruption to the party continuously. Referring to Higher Education Minister Ponmudi, A. Ramasamy said had M. Karunanidhi had been the Chief Minister of State, he would have removed him from the cabinet the moment he was convicted on charges of corruption, and he wouldn't have been reinstated in the ministry after the Supreme Court, even after the Supreme Court had stayed the conviction. However, after Ponmudi's conviction was stayed in the Supreme Court, MK Stalin reinstated him inside the state's cabinet. So this is what A. Ramasamy has shared. You may recall that Ponmudi in 2022 October has criticized the state's free bus scheme as an OC bus scheme. He says it was an OC slang for free. Sigamani also said that Stalin has been leaving the party senior ministers who have not been cooperating with the party's election works. He also cited a recent example of how a senior minister, Muthuswamy from Erode constituency. Sigamani also explained how some of the ministers like Muthuswamy, Minister for Housing and Urban Development, has been non-cooperative since the election started, since the election work started. He says that the Muthuswamy has not been working for the election, has not been working for the parties. He said that senior minister had not been cooperating for these parliamentary election works and worked just a few days ahead of the polling. It is not that the political commentators alone are saying that Stalin has been burdened with the deadbeat ministers. Even MK Stalin himself has once reacted and reflected how he has been taking the blame for the activities of other ministers. To quote from what MK Stalin directly said, as a leader of the party and chief minister of the state, I am like a drum that is being beaten on both sides. He said exactly the same words in the general council meeting of his party in 2022. However, T.K. Ilangovan, who is a former Rajya Sabha member from DMK, shares that it is not that the party hasn't taken action against any ministers at all. So Elangovan shares that the party has taken action against the senior minister Nazar for his anti-party activities. But then Elangovan stresses that his leader doesn't want to disregard the work of the senior ministers who have been working for the party for decades together, and that is why he has not been initiating any actions. But then Elangovan says that it is not that they are not being warned. See, the senior ministers, even like Ponmudi or Muthuswamy, they have been constantly warned, is what Elangovan shared us. Elangovan also says that with one or two incidences, they don't want, or the party doesn't want to disregard the work of seniors who have been working on the ground tirelessly for every election and even otherwise as well. When it comes to the state politics, people say that Stalin has even surpassed his father M. Karunanidhi in terms of politics. They say like it is the consecutive third election that MK Stalin has been able to hold all his alliance parties together. In first, MK Stalin formed a secular progressive alliance in 2019 with parties including CPI, CPM, VCK and other parties. Then in 2021, the alliance was intact and he faced the elections with the same set of alliance partners. Now in 2020-24 Lok Sabha elections as well, the alliance has been maintained. Nobody has left this alliance. So political commentators like Ramasamy says that MK Stalin has even surpassed his father in terms of maintaining political relationship with the other parties and in the terms of political strategies as well. So his party leaders, even DMK spokespersons like Elangovan and Saran Annadurai also share that they have been like very cooperative, they maintain very diplomatic relationship with the alliance partners and they share mutual views with them, and then they discuss and take a decision is what they share, and that is the reason for the success of this alliance is to appreciate MK Stalin's leadership in the election strategy or in the alliance strategy. Ravindra Durasamy says that despite senior ministers suggesting to go an alliance with the Patali Makkal Katchi in the state, Stalin stood with the party and said that they wouldn't go in alliance with the Patali Makkal Katchi to be in alliance with the Vidudhai Chiruthigal Katchi. Vidudhai Chiruthigal Katchi, it is an Ambedkar party in the state and which is a rival of Patali Makkal Katchi, which is a like OBC dominated party in the state. So if Patali Makkal Katchi joins an alliance with the DMK party, quite naturally VCK or the Vidudhai Chiruthigal Katchi tend to leave the alliance. So in order to hold VCK along with them, MK Stalin took a firm decision not to join hands with the Patali Makkal Katchi. So this in itself proves that MK Stalin is an able leader in terms of like in the political spectrum, forming a alliance, like having alliance strategies or an election strategy is what Ravindra Durasamy is saying. DMK has come to power after a gap of 10 years. Since 1989, DMK and ADMK have alternately ruled the states until 2011. However, in 2011, J. Jayalalitha took 2 consecutive terms, making DMK to wait until 2021. Now, with MK Stalin having a series of people welfare measures in his hands, one has to wait if MK Stalin will be able to replicate what J. Jayalalitha did in 2011.